If your habits don't change, you don't have a new year, you just have another year. Happy New Year to all of you guys watching, and in this video, I really want to break down how you can go ahead, create your New Year's resolutions, your goals, if you haven't done them already, and then create a framework for you to go ahead and actually achieve them. Because there's no point creating these goals, spending time thinking that yes, I've done something well, only for you to quit within the next 4 weeks. So if you're interested in what my thoughts are, then definitely keep watching. Hi guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because I talk about real estate, personal development, and all things financial freedom. Now, if you're new here, my name is Ravi. I live in Australia and I run Australia's largest real estate YouTube channel. I do cover off things like cryptocurrency, financial freedom, and personal development. But when I'm not here making YouTube content for you guys, I'm running one of AFR's fastest growing startups in Australia. I employ more than 50 full-time staff members. If you want value from someone who actually goes out and does this, executes it day in, day out, then definitely consider subscribing. You can unsubscribe later this year if I don't give enough value to you guys. Now, we've all been there. Really excited around achieving new things in the new year. We've got some goals that we set aside, and then we go out there only for a couple of months in to say, maybe I'm not going to achieve them this year. You get to the end of the year and say, all right, I didn't achieve them this year. Let me go ahead and put them on my list for next year, and I'm definitely going to achieve them now. I know this hits deep for me because I've been guilty of this myself. I say to myself, I'm going to do X amount of workouts in the year, and I get to the final part of the year and I realize I didn't achieve it. So guess what I do? I put the same goal as my next year's resolution, and again, I don't achieve them. Now, over the last 12 months, things started changing. Not just with the workouts, but more so with the personal and business goals. I've found that every single year, I've gone and achieved more and more of my goals, despite those goals being even bigger. And I don't think this comes down to luck. I think it's because I've developed a framework that actually works and it's backed by science. I know that as soon as you go backed by science, you're like, oh, I better listen. And that's how I approached it. I was like, there must be a way. There's people way smarter than me that have achieved their goals, and there's a reason why they've done it. They've gone out there, learned from the best, and that's exactly what I've done here. And now that I have a framework, I want to share that with you guys so you can go and execute on your plans. Now, this year will be different for you because you will have a framework, not just a goal. You want pretty much a framework or a system to go out there and actually achieve them. And if you didn't achieve them or you didn't hit the numbers you wanted, you have a proper review system that allows you to then go ahead and achieve them the following year. Now, the best place to start is to understand what the end goal looks like. So what I would start with is look at what my life looks like, but in 12 months time. And one of the biggest hacks I've learned is the mindset hack around visualization and manifestation. And I know some people are against it or some people don't understand it, so I'm going to break it down for you right now. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that you're more likely to achieve your goals and your end goal by simply sitting there and visualizing what it's going to feel like to actually achieve those things. I know it sounds like a bit of juju, but it actually works, and I've done it myself. So what you want to do is on a piece of paper, write down exactly what you'll be doing in 12 months time. Start off with, what the big goals look like, and it might be I want to save X amount, or I want to invest X amount, or I want to look a particular way, and then write it down as if you've already achieved them. So if I had a goal of, say, saving $20,000, I would go on to say, hi, my name's Ravi. I've gone ahead and achieved $20,000 in my bank account. It just ticked over today, and I've achieved my goal of $20,000. It feels amazing. It feels X, Y, and Z, and this is why it's important I've done this, because now I'm a step closer towards X, Y, and Z. Then you need to sit down and just absorb that. You need to actually feel what that feeling feels like. I know I just said feel a lot, but I'm not sure how else to explain it. You need to truly know what that feels like. And you might be really excited, you're really happy, you're confident in your abilities, and that is going to fuel your motivation. Because the stronger mindset link that you have with that feeling, the more willpower you will have throughout the entire year as you go ahead and just veer off course. Because the reality is we're humans and our lives are going to have volatility. So as we go and navigate through this year, you're always going to have that one feeling, that moment that you can always go back to and say, I know how strongly I felt about that goal, and I also know how it made me feel. And so that is going to motivate me to get back on track and go ahead and achieve my goals. The next part of the framework involves you being detailed, not vague. You just can't go out there and say, I want to make more money or I want to be more fit. They're very vague. And that's a good place to start, but then you want to go and break that down and get really detailed with what that looks like. So for instance, I want to make more money. Well, how much more money do you actually want to make? And you would go, okay, well, I want to make an extra $20,000 this year or an extra $100,000 this year. Depending on what your goals are, you would go and break it down. And then from there, you would break it down from a 12-month goal to a quarterly goal to a monthly goal. And then sometimes you could go in and do a weekly goal. This is super important because when you start off, you usually will look at that number or whatever that end goal is and say, that's highly unmotivating because I don't think I'm going to achieve it. It's so far from where I am today that it's going to take a whole new version of me to actually achieve it. Now, you don't just flick a switch overnight and change as a person, but with progress and with habits, you definitely do change. And I've seen this in my own life, where I've gone through the journey of, say, becoming more fit, and it really changed for me when I heard this quote, which is that you have 101 problems until you only have one, which is a health problem. And that is so true, that as much as I'm so passionate about running my businesses, making content for you guys and doing a bunch of other stuff in life, I need to go and make health a priority. So that's what I went and opted to do last year. Now, in the course of all that, I dropped a couple of percentage points on my body fat and I dropped about 7.5 kilos. Now, what's so interesting is the more time I spent in the gym and obviously, getting my steps in, I became more clear in how I wanted to run my business. So my business actually flourished as a result of that. So that connection is absolutely wild, but sometimes you got to take a few steps back from something to see what the bigger picture looks like. The next part of the framework is to understand what your why is. Your motivation is going to be linked with why you're doing this. And it's going to be something that you need to refer back to every single time. Throughout the year, you're going to have moments where you're really excited about your goal, and then there's going to be moments where you can completely fall off and quit. In fact, 50% of people quit within the first 4 weeks of the year. So you may watch this in the first week of Jan, or you may be watching this in the first week of Feb, and you've realized that you've either stuck to your goals or you've completely fallen off. Well, 50% of you fall off by the end of Jan, and only 8% actually go on to achieve their New Year's resolutions by the end of the year. I want you guys to be in that 8%. And that's why I'm sharing with you the framework that works for me, because there's no point creating all this hype around this new year being different, only for you to get to the end of the year and say, okay, I wasted another year. Life is precious, so we need to make the most of it. Now, you need to be doing things daily. Progress compounds, and this is so true. I talk about it with, compounding interest and compounding growth across your investments. If you've got money invested in stocks, crypto, or real estate, you'll already know this, that the small changes, the incremental changes, which in the micro seem so small, but over the macro, whether it's 90 days, whether it's 9 months, or whether it's 9 years, you'll realize has made a huge difference. Look at this YouTube channel, for instance. I started about 5 years ago, and at that time I used to get maybe 10 to 15 views. Now putting out videos, I can get a couple of thousand. But the amount of work I had to put in for my first few videos was a lot more work, and to be honest, the learning curve was a lot longer as well. I needed to learn how to shoot, learn how to edit, get confident with how to talk, learn how to script things, and then actually shoot and upload. I had no idea how to do that. Now, there's certain elements of that process where I'm very comfortable and very confident because progress compounds. And it's the same thing we need to do with our goals. For instance, if you're someone who says, I really need to work out, and this was a really good hack for myself this year. I need to go and work out, but because there's something at work that's gone wrong, I need to get to work a lot earlier or get in front of my computer a lot earlier. I could also be in a flow state where I've just found myself just smashing out work. I'm really passionate about where I'm going with it. And suddenly I don't have enough time, or I didn't make enough time to go on that massive workout. So instead, the old Ravi just sat there and said, okay, well, I haven't worked out. I may as well just continue doing this. And that means I'm not going to get my steps in, and nor am I going to get a workout. That compounds, because if tomorrow the same thing happens, that's 2 days worth of activity that I haven't completed. Now I'm using the rest of the week to catch up, and I'm probably not going to catch up. Versus what I started to do in 2024 was, if I did miss my workout that morning, I'll try and time block maybe 20-minute sessions of just walking. And suddenly what I saw was I was still getting healthier. I was still making progress. My hips weren't as tight anymore. And I was walking a lot more than I did the previous 12 months. And that meant that I was making progress. Everyone ultimately wants to make progress. They want to grow. You want to build. And that is how you get the best version of yourself. So instead of doing absolute nothing and then putting yourself down for it, just do the small things, or as Stephen Bartlett likes to say, you need to sweat the small stuff. And finally, you need to be constantly reviewing and reflecting. If you have a goal and you're not tracking, you can't measure what you can't track. So if you don't have a proper system to reflect back on the month that was, you're not going to know what to change to be able to get back on track. The reality is you are going to get off track. And you need to get comfortable with that. It's happened numerous times to me, whether it's on a daily, whether it's on a weekly, or even worse, on a monthly. And again, the monthly happens if you're not tracking and reflecting on the weekly. So what you've got to start with is the micro, which is how do I change things daily while you've got the big vision? And then you can go out there and then review macro. You can go and say, well, this quarter I did X amount. Why did I do that compared to last quarter? Accordingly, you're going to get the best version of yourself in 12 months time, and you're going to be proud of what you've achieved. I want you guys to write down in the comments down below exactly what your biggest goal is, and I want you to be specific about it. And there's science that backs this as well, but you going out there and putting it in a community like you do in the comment section or writing it down will significantly increase how you go and achieve your goals this year. So it's going to keep us all accountable. I want you guys to write down your biggest goal in the comments down below. And again, if you're new here, subscribe if you want to get to a better version of yourself tomorrow. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys.